Welcome everybody to another episode of Greeting Mashiach. In the spirit of having conversations that we're trying to promote as our input to the concept of Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, we have with us a special guest, Levi Goldstein from Iowa, and we're going to get not only another, fresh eyes and fresh voice on the topic, but we're also going to get a different perspective on certain things. And take it away, Rabbi Goldstein.
Yes, it's great being here, and the reason why I'm on here is because I have this tremendous passion for Mashiach. I know every Yid has a passion for Mashiach, because there's a Nitzis Mashiach in every Yid. But somehow, maybe it's my siblings that tell me, you're off far Mashiach, or they tell me Mashiach should come just to make you happy. So just trying to bring a little bit here about the concept of Mashiach, and especially there was a whole discussion going on. It came to the Sikh of Chayesara Tavshin and Beis, and the Rebbe said the whole Iker Shlichus is to be Makabel, Bnei Moshiach Tzidkenu, and everything goes through that shar. So I want to share with you some ideas that I feel are things that are actual that are real and actual to be Makabel Bnei Moshiach Tzidkenu, and that is we find in the Sikhs, especially in the later Sikhs of Nalf and Beis, that the Rebbe put the stakes very, very high. That means the demands that the Rebbe demands from us is, if you just think about it for a moment, it's pretty high. I'm talking about machshava, dibur, umaisa. That's a thing that the Rebbe speaks about a lot. Just think about it. Every single machshava in your mind has to be pure, positive. Every maisa that you do needs to be in accordance to halacha, in accordance to Chassidishkeit, and dibur. Every word you shouldn't chas v'shalom say not nice word about someone to someone. It's a lot. It's sometimes it could feel very demanding, but if you chazer and you farbrengen and you talk about it, we realize that this actually could be done. So let's bring about it.
So obviously a lot of people have a kach about Mashiach. As you can probably tell, I was born a number of years after Gimel Tammuz, and yet we try to keep the flame going. But you have this special, at least I guess 30 years ago wasn't so special, but now it's more special that you were actually there at the time when the Rebbe spoke about all these things. So maybe you could tell us a little bit what it was like in the years of Nun Aleph, Nun Beis, and I guess then afterwards Nun Gimel and Dalet, but I guess one step at a time. What it was like to hear the experience of hearing these sikhs as they were happening. What was the impression of the Chassidim then? What was your impression?
Yeah, so a few things. First of all, I'm going to give away my age. That I was 15 years old by Gimel Tammuz. It's a young age, and I wasn't like really fully developed. I remember my brother was 19, yeah, because he's 3 years older than me. No, he was 18, almost 19. And he was there, B'Shas Masi. He was in Oli Torah, and he would run to 770 with Nun Gimel, and he would update us. This is going on. That's happening. But to me, as a young kid, I didn't really grasp what was going on. But
if I might interject, there is a certain there's one mile for somebody who's older and appreciated the deep significance of things, or might have understood the sikhs more intimately at the time. But there's also, I think, a mile to somebody who was was your age at the time, who might have caught a lot of the arum without chopping the particulars, could cheer over what was the vibe. The vibe, probably, I would assume, you still, of what was going on, that probably you, even at a young age, one can get that. Maybe you'll tell me. I don't know.
I have this memory of so that was the first point. I was young, and second of all, My parents, Zoldan, they are Shluchim of the Rebbe in Ann Arbor, in Michigan. So the only times I really came to the Rebbe was when we were coming up now to Shavuos. Shavuos was always the quietest time of the year, where there's not much going on, and that was the opportunity that my father says, let's take the family to the Rebbe once a year, and our bubbies and zaydis also they both live there, so it was just one big opportunity. So one thing that stands out is the Shavuos Tavshin Nun Beis. So Chavzayin Adar happened that year, so that's other Aleph, so you had the other Beis, so the other Nisan Ear, so about three and a half months. Nobody saw the Rebbe. The Rebbe fell by the oil, was taken to his holy room, and that's it. The Chassidim didn't see the Rebbe, so it came Shavuos, and I think it was by Ta'alucha, which would be the first day Shavuos, in the evening, towards the evening, so everybody went on Ta'alucha. And I can't remember if it was before Talucha or after Talucha. You could probably look it up in all the manim. So that was the first time that the Rebbe came out. This is before any porch, before any room. I don't know how many people know about this or don't know about it, so I'm going to say it anyways. There was no porch yet. There was no room, because this is 3 months, and I believe the room, before the porch was made, there was a room that was built, I think, in Rosh Hashanah. Tavshin Nun Gimel, if I remember correctly. So this is Shavuos Tavshin Nun Beis. So the Rebbe was in his room, and I don't know exactly the details. The Rebbe told Rabbi Groner that he wants to go out. I think they had to carry the Rebbe on a chair. The disappointing part of it was that I didn't get to see the Rebbe, but you asked me about the vibe. Oh, I remember the vibe. People. So this was the front entrance of 770. The main entrance over there by the two gates, by the steps. I remember the gates were all bent out of shape. It just, but I remember coming back to my Bobby's house. Gates? The two gates of the leading up to the building of the 770.
On the other side.
Gates on the lawn.
By the lawn, yeah. So the Rebbe came out in that front entrance, and the Rebbe just sat over there on a chair, and people were just singing and just jumping up and trying to get a view. And I was I was 13 then, so I was a young bacher that couldn't really see anything. But like you said before, the vibe, I definitely felt the vibe, the excitement, and it's just a little bit of the excitement that we're going to have very, very soon. When as you have, I think it was you, who was the doorman? It was Rabbi Wolf. I was listening to the Wolf was saying how the Rebbe describes how is he going to come. Boom! Like the Rebbe is just going to open the door, and we're going to see him. I remember coming back to my Bubby's and Zadie's house, and they were so excited. It was such an excitement, like wow! Finally, we got to see the Rebbe. But the real question is, what am I taking from all that? Again, going back to what I said before, Machshava, Dibur, and Maisa. I think that's what it all boils down to. There's another Nikuda that I want to bring about. I don't know if I should jump into it now. I'll just bring it up now. This whole the title of calling people this term anti or Meshachist, that's something that has to be blotted out, because it's causing a lot of separation. So I'm putting it out there. Either we can start discussing it now, or we could first finish up this Machshava Dibur Maisa.
With regards to the Machshava Dibur Maisa, I think it's actually very, very interesting, because I think this applies to every single part of Shlichus and everything that the Rebbe laid out. There's always aspects. There was always parts of it that included the Machshava, the Dibur, and the Maaseh. I think what a lot of people, especially with things that had enough time to really flesh out, people became comfortable with all the parts that the Rebbe, all the things, all the mitzvahs that the Rebbe put out. Right now, we're all comfortable with it. Say the Machshava, say the Dibur, and say the Maaseh. because we had enough time to really understand what we were doing and really get into the mode. For example, mitzvah tefillin, I think, is obviously the biggest. That's one thing that literally every single person in the world knows about Chabad is, oh yeah, they go around putting on tefillin on Jews. I think that was one of the biggest things that in the beginning there was a lot of uncertainty. People weren't so excited to go. There were chassidim that were, obviously the Rebbe says we have to go put on tefillin on people, so let's do it. But there was less of excitement, and once it was brought out and fleshed out into all parts of it, machshava, the dibra, and the maaseh, when the Rebbe started answering questions, and when mashpim started farbrengen about it, became like, now we're comfortable because we have all three steps. We figured out the machshava, we figured out the dibra, and we figured out the maaseh. We figured out Totals, the vart of Totals is trying to put everything into vertelach, trying to put words to everything. So I think one thing that has to do that the Mivtza Mashiach, quote unquote, hasn't yet figured out is how to flesh it out to have complete machshava, dibur, and maaseh. Because we know the dibur, we know the maaseh pretty much, right? The dibur is the yechi by the Rebbe, and then the maaseh is practically signing and all that stuff. But there's a big, and I know this from talking to some bachrim, that when you're a bacher, everything's about avodah. So the question is, like, what's the big avodah? Like, it needs to be a big avodah, so therefore, it's very hard to really fully jump into the whole Mashiach topic, because there's not so much avodah really. It's really about going on to the next step, which is less about you and it's more about the klal. It's more about the world, and it's more about the general Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael and all that stuff. So I think one thing that needs to be done really is how to bring out from the Mivtza Mashiach, to bring it into Machshava, to bring it into Dibur, and to bring it into Maaseh. I think it's interesting that interesting nekuda that I've been thinking about.
Levi, so I think you're talking about two different things. You'll tell me. So I guess Levi P, Levi G. So I think Levi, Palachenko, what you're talking about is the Machshava Dibur, the Maaseh of the Mashiach campaign itself. Whereas I think Levi Goldstein, you're talking more about the Machadar Yisrael. In general, part of the Mashiach campaign is the intense focus on the entire living a Torah Yid, Al Pishach Chanarach, and Machshava Dibur Maaseh, do what Eibishter wants. That if Mashiach is really taking us out of Gullus, the most obvious way that we need to prepare for that is in our own lives, taking it seriously. By the whole point of Mashiach is he's going to make a shlemus to Torah and mitzvahs, that we need to keep our Torah and mitzvahs ourselves properly in Machshava Dibur Maaseh. So correct me if I got that. Elaborate.
Yeah, both are beautiful.
Yeah, so these are the 2 points that it sounds like we're discussing over here. 2 aspects of the Machshava Dibur Maaseh.
Yeah, well, it all starts with the Rebbe says in the famous Sikha that through learning in Yanigol Mashiach, that's really the key. It's interesting if I could point out learning, because people speak about, and I'll mention it today, in the English mostly Rabbi Kotlarski, he says, I once heard from him that he described that after Simchas Torah, after Akafes, he peeked into the Rebbe's room through the blinds or something, and he saw the Rebbe sitting and learning.
Yeah.
And there's another Meister in Tavshin and Beis. I don't know who I heard it from. But recently, a chassan came to get a siddur, and he saw the Rebbe sitting on a folding chair, without his hat or tzirtuk, just sitting and learning. So by the Rebbe, really, if you think about it, everything is through Torah. You have this big mitzvah of Mashiach, and the Rebbe says, well, it has to go through Torah. And once you have the Torah, it gets, like you're saying, to the mind, and Machshava Dibur Maaseh. And once you have that activated, then everything else in your life, like I said before, all your machshavas, all your dibur, and all your maaseh are all encompassed and in sync with the Eibishter. Yeah, so I was speaking to someone, and I was a little bit surprised that he brought it up so strongly. He says that we can't call anyone Mishachist. It's just damaging. Well, first of all, like I said before, every year that has a nitzis Moshiach. So really, every year is a Moshiach.
Someone was telling you that nobody should be called a Meshachist.
Yeah, because it just causes a period. Because the moment you say Meshachist, well, then
that invites
then
there to be an. I would think if we should get rid of one of them, it should be the ones who are anti. Everyone should just be whatever you want to say. Meshachist means everyone should be anti Mashiach. I would think.
So in the ideal world, yeah, and it was at a Shabbos table, and somebody else was arguing and saying no. Meshachist is like a proud thing. Like you're proud that I'm a Meshachist. I'm all far kachna Mashiach. But the vibe that your typical person gets is, I could say personally too, it just makes me very, very.
It becomes as if it's a political party.
Yeah, it's just as a whole ekeldigkeit to this beautiful mitzvah of Mashiach. I don't know if it's practical to.
How would you recommend? What's your vision of how it? I guess how would you get rid of the party lines, and how do you and what would that look like, and how would you implement it if it was up to you?
Just plain chassid.
So we should just be chassidim. We should be chassidim of the Rebbe.
Yeah, even there's a song from Shimke Lazarov. I know he has like a few songs that he made. Yeah, that's a song. So it went from, I think, Cain Shlichas Cain Mal Nishtel. So I think he either he amended it or lechatchila he made it that it should go both. That it shouldn't be exclusively for shluchim. It should be a Cain chassid is Cain Mal Nishtel.
No chassid is ever alone. Not only no shliach, no chassid is ever alone.
So it's kind of I'm just trying to borrow a mashal. Shluchim and chassidim is not as politically charged as Meshachist and anti. So when you say shluchim, yeah, then there's the whole thing. Well, every year there's a shliach, and then it becomes the whole back and forth. Well, he's a official shliach. He's not a official shliach. And it becomes the whole thing. So there too, we should try just keeping it across the board.
Well,
we are
near the Rebbe. This we mentioned on our previous episodes when we were going through the Sikha of Chayesara. The Rebbe actually there goes kind of in a little bit more detail, explaining the difference. And in the Rebbe's version of the Sikha, or the Rebbe's version of reality, everything and everyone is a shliach. Hashem is a shliach, Atmas is a shliach, Mashiach is a shliach, all the Yidden are shluchim. But then the Rebbe goes more particular, aside for all of the Yidden being shluchim, the Rebbe specifies that there are those who their entire job, B'Gashmius as well, in a very literal sense, is to be a shliach exclusively. They have the schus that's exclusively their tafkid. So that's the way the Rebbe, so to speak, puts the difference. But indeed, in reality, each and every the Rebbe says, every year there's what I found very interesting, and I mentioned this previously, the Rebbe says there that not only that every year there's a shliach of Hashem, but every year there's a shliach of the Nasi Adar. And that I found very interesting, because there's a lot of Yidden, you might think they don't really have much of a shaykhs, let alone be a shliach of the Nasi Adar. And here you have the Rebbe saying, no, every Yid is a shliach of the Nasi Adar, is an emissary of the Nasi Adar.
Yeah, because Hanasi who
at the end of the day.
And then which reminds me of Purim Tavshim Mem Zayin. They said they went from the Nasi to the Kol.
Yeah.
They made it very clear. It's Noshim V'Taf. Every Yid has responsibility to bring Mashiach. So growing up, I went to the Detroit yeshiva. So I don't know if this thing about the titles Mashiachist came from that. I went through the whole system of Detroit, and I followed it to Miami, and all along I felt there's something wrong here. It's this and calling he's a Mashiachist. It's like.
It's very telling that the last tzricha we have from the Rebbe, we heard the Leis Ata, from Vayakel Tavshun and Beis is the theme of Vayakel together, the theme of Achdus, Achdus and Kibbutz Goliath, that this idea that Chassidim should be Ba'achdus, you should be together, united, and what obviously followed the past 30 years, I don't know what to call it, but certainly we're very much in need of Achdus. There's a mimer from the Alter Rebbe in Parshas Noach about the Dara Floga, the Kuti Torah, as it were, and he says the pasuk tells us that they're building this tower and they're not going to be able to. Hashem doesn't know what to do about this plan they're making. And the opposite, understand. There's the Abish that we're talking about. What does that mean? That he's not going to be able to stop them? He's not going to be able to stop their plan? Like what? Why? So yeah, it doesn't even clap. Like, what's the pasuk saying? And the Alter Rebbe explains that they knew the secrets of the way the spheres work, the way the elements work, and they knew that Achdus is the key. They wanted to get from Atzilus, and to get from Atzilus, this high spiritual world, that's the good stuff. Normally, you gotta be a good boy to get for the good stuff. They didn't want to be good boys, but they wanted the good stuff anyways. And they knew a cheat sheet is when you're Ba'achdus, even if you're being Ba'achdus to go against the Eibishter, you're gonna get the good stuff. That's the key. The key is Achdus, even bad Achdus, so to speak. And that's why the Eibishter's only recourse, obviously within the system the Eibishter created, was to mess up their Achdus, and that's what the Eibishter did. He dispersed them, changed their languages, and put them across the world. You see, that's about a negative thing. Could you only imagine the Achdus of Chassidim about doing the right thing, following the Rebbe, bringing Mashiach? Not that I'm saying that anyone should give up on the true things and be false, but whenever possible, to have the Ava and Achva Tzevish Chassidim is so important. Or you also have from the was it Samach Tzedek, when they asked him, why aren't you scared of getting arrested? And with the government, what are you doing? What's going to be with the Chassidim? So one thing he mentioned was the son, and the other thing he mentioned, if I remember correctly, was the Achdus for Chassidim that they beistein. That Biz Moshiach. So we're certainly in this situation now when we're very much in need of this Achdus for Chassidim to help us get through the dark period.
If I may offer a practical tip, I was listening to a parenting podcast. The person was speaking all about when a child has a tantrum, he doesn't want to go to sleep, he doesn't want to brush his teeth. So you could go to him and command, no, you have to, and then it never ends. So his technique was that it's called mirroring. You mirror the child, that you mamash repeat back to the child that same feeling. But he says you have to be genuine. You can't fake it.
Wait.
You have to really put yourself in the child's mind. I could see you don't want to brush your teeth. Yeah, it's annoying. It takes time. You have to put the toothpaste on it. So if we could adapt that to hearing out each other, whether it's Yechi, not Yechi, writing different titles on the Rebbe, repeating back to the person what he said. He says that it's supposed to do the magic. So
you'll the parent, you guys both who have children, you'll let me know how that works out. Little difference here to remember, right? That it's very important to this shows the other person when you repeat back to them, you also show that you understand what they're saying. That you're not arguing and having a discussion about two different things. You see, I understand what you're saying, and the person feels vindicated that you understand their point. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with their point. You have to understand their point, and that way you can have very productive, helpful conversations instead of going in circles when two people are discussing two different things. You're not even having the same discussion. You're arguing with a person who's not there. So when you verify what the person is saying, that you understand their perspective, and then you can actually be able to share ideas. And I heard this from I don't know if we're allowed to talk about such things, but there's a yid, so maybe it's okay. Dennis Prager, so he talks about politics often and about Torah, but I'm not recommending anybody listen to anything outside of Torah. But he says that he often finds in debates the thing that's most helpful for him, instead of debating, is just to clarify where everyone stands on things. He tells what, just let me clarify. This is my position. Let's clarify your position, and that often does most of the work. Instead of spending so much time fighting with each other, just to clarify each person's where do you stand on something in a very not confrontational manner, in and of itself already does wonders.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I went through the system of Detroit, but I give a lot of credit to my father. So gesund sein, Tati, if you're watching this, hello. My father, maybe you could get him on. He's a very special person. He has the different views than me about Mashiach, but he has the amazing thing that he could have a conversation with anyone. His best friends are, okay, I'm not going to use the M word, but he could have a calm conversation, even though the way he understands, but the guy that he's talking to is somebody that he grew up with. They learned alphabets together. It's like, how could you fight with such a person? So that's the element of calmness, to stay calm when you have these arguments. So I mentioned before, Yanigul Mashiach is the key. Two Talts has the whole thing about the mindset, Mashiach mindset.
Mashiach mindset, yeah.
Somebody mentioned on a group that I was on, I want to say 4 years ago, he said learning Yanigul Mashiach is even more important than Ramam. And it hit me. He says, I said, oh, okay. Should I mention his name?
Rambam is in Mashiach Geula.
Oh. Who in Yanigul Mashiach? No, so I thought to myself, three Prakim Ramam, or whoever does one, we know it's Chayk V'lo Yaver. I don't want to look as a big shot. I know a lot of Hasidim, they don't go to sleep till they finish the Ramam. But Sekum Yanigul Mashiach, Litzari, many days go by. I just don't learn. Now you want to say that many parts of the Torah speak about Yanigul Mashiach, yeah, but I'm talking about that you make a seder to say, okay, I'm going to learn now Yanigul Mashiach. How do we get into our mind to have almost the same standard as Rambam?
Yeah. Baruch Hashem, we have on our WhatsApp chat, the Living Geula, whatever it's called, WhatsApp chat, Mela, yeah, we have not 5 minutes doesn't go by when there's a discussion of Inyan Mashiach Geula. And another thing, obviously, is Rabbi Reuven Wolf has his WhatsApp chat where he started last year, the Mashiach Suda, to bring the light of Mashiach into every single day that he started going through all the Maimarim of Achron Shal Pesach, which all discuss Mashiach. Not every day, obviously, discusses Mashiach, but the whole Maimer is there to figure out and discuss the Giluim of Lavsid Lavai. And he's I think up to Tafshin Tezai now, 5 minutes every day on WhatsApp. He started now doing even Mitzvah Shabbos. 5 minutes every day, not to miss a day.
Just a voice note or something?
It's a voice note. You can put it on times 2. It's a voice note, and he goes through the mimer little by little. You can go through.
Maybe I should do that.
You go through them. So not every day is about Mashiach. It's about whatever the mimer is about. But the whole mimer, when you're finished, it's about Mashiach.
So I mentioned before about my upbringing in Detroit, but I need to make this disclaimer. I was in Zal, I think it was Shir Aleph Zal. Somebody had a seder to learn Yanigul Mashiach, and I remember it was Friday night in the early winter Shabbosim, where the Bachrim got together in Detroit in the Zal and learned Yanigul Mashiach. And I remember one of the times they invited Rabbi Beryl Shem Tov, and I remember him. I even remember what it was about. We learned the Purim Tavshim Zayin. So that's another very important thing to like just blankly cancel out. Oh, Detroit is this and this and that. Love Davke.
Yeah, you see, everyone are people who kach Mashiach. Chassidim who kach Mashiach.
Oh yeah, so like I said before, it's chassidim across the board.
Yeah.
Now, then the next thing we have to work on is as the ganze Welt, all chugim of Yidden. It should. I hate when people say, "Oh, Mashiach," right away they associate it with Chabad. This is a Chabad thing, and they koch Mashiach. But really, the Rebbe wants every single Yid involved in Mashiach. So somehow you have to remove this. I don't know if stigma is the right word. But in certain ways, it is picking up steam. We're finally talking a lot of chugim today. They are speaking openly about the topic of Moshiach, but it could use some more help.
Certainly, compared to what it was years ago, today for sure, in the Welt, everyone's talking much more about Mashiach. Everyone's talking about Mashiach. Right, 40 years ago, it was very much Chabad, pretty much under Chabad jurisdiction. Mashiach, TM Chabad, but certainly today it's very much more than. I mean, I wasn't around there, but much more than before. I would say is you see in the Welt a normalization of talking and caring about Mashiach.
I think it would also not just be just a normalization, but also an excitement of the imminence of it happening.
Yeah.
I know as soon as something very, very fascinating that happened after October 7th was that there was a felt of like, that it's got to happen. It's got to not only it's got to happen, but they feel that it's happening soon, which is actually a very interesting feeling that I remember talking about this with someone about how in Tafshin and Aleph, Tafshin and Beis, the imminence was felt, but it came from the Rebbe. Like the Rebbe gave us the feeling of the imminence, right? Starting from the Frierdiker Rebbe already, L'alter L'tshuva, L'alter Geula. It wasn't really something that there was world happenings and it was like, okay, how do we understand this, blah, blah, blah. And then we came to ourselves, oh, it must be that we're feeling the birth pangs of Mashiach and all that stuff. It was more that it came from the Rebbeim. It came from the Frierdiker Rebbe, came from the Rebbe, talking about how the war that was happening. I remember the episode that we had with the Feldmans. They were saying, Miriam Feldman was saying how the news was different. The news, the perspective from Crown Heights was such a hopeful, such a exciting perspective to the war.
Juxtaposed it with the way they were hearing it from the TV
Correct.
or the radio.
And I think a big and this is I think Pulasa Shel Melech HaMashiach Alo Amim, and not only that Alo Amim but also on the Yidden, that it gave us the ability to by ourselves look at the world, look what's happening, and be like, okay, it must be that this is Mashiach. This is the energy of the Geula. This is the energy. This is Al Saf Ha'adalas. This is we're at the doorstep. We're so close. This is already connecting it to the Yehudim, to the prophecies, to the testimonies of what's going to happen before Mashiach comes. I think it's something that the Rebbe planted the seed, and we're seeing right now. We're seeing sadly it took 30 years, but Baruch Hashem, right now we're seeing the sprouting of the trees. Not only the trees, but also the fruit. We're seeing the effect that Melech HaMashiach is having without needing the Rebbe to be there and pointing it out. Rather, we are the ones, and I think this is what the Rebbe was saying. Open up your eyes to realize, to recognize that the Geula is in the world. And that's what we're doing. Right now, what we're doing is, and sadly, I think it's lacking in Lubavitch, which you would think it's the other way around. The Lubavitch being known as the Mashiach drivers, the Kaching Mashiach. Right now, what we're seeing is a sort of a switch where everybody else is Kaching and seeing the Geula in the world, seeing the effect of Mashiach, and we're still discussing if to be Mefarsim, if not to be Mefarsim. We're still trying to figure it out. But I think that's why you need we need a little push, and hopefully this is going to be the last push, and we're going to open our eyes and get the world ready. and not have to get the world ready, because we're all going to be at that point of greeting Mashiach.
Just to give an example of one of the ways we see how things changed a lot with regards to Mashiach since what was before to now, you have Sichas of the Rebbe discussing why you're allowed to ask for Mashiach, how it's not kfira to demand from the Eibush that it brings Mashiach, and the Rebbe starts bringing proof from Chida, was it? And from Shemona Esrei, that you see in Shemona Esrei that we ask for Mashiach, and Kilu trying to defend the very notion of asking the Eibush to send Mashiach instead of just letting him do it on his own time. And you don't even find that notion anymore in the world. It's so accepted that we want Mashiach now. We're asked for Mashiach. That's such a normal thing these days. I saw a picture of the Lag B'Mei parade in Borough Park, and they have this Adot Kommt Mashiach and Besteht auf der Schwell von Geula signs. It was very cute. These kids walking.
With the bags.
Yeah. But this is, I think, you tell a regular person, people used to say you can't ask for Mashiach. I don't even think that most people would be familiar with such arguments. It's become normal. It's become accepted. Of course, you want Mashiach. There's still some stigma, so to speak. The Chabad is into Mashiach, but on the whole, we're making, I think, a lot of improvement on that front.
Yes, I was pointing out to my brother. Not just Mashiach. There's so many things that the Rebbe bemoaned about. One of them was about children taking pride in their accomplishments in school, and the Rebbe was bemoaning the fact that the whole kach is their sports and all that stuff. But when he has a siyum on chumash, he barely gets attention. But I was telling my brother, look
what happens today.
Today, with the Chidon and the Chumash party, Siddur party, it mamish turned things on its head.
If anything, we went overboard. We went all the way overboard.
Yeah, over the other side.
Yeah. I heard a complaint. I heard, I talk in the English program. They don't respect the English teachers. They don't. That was Deb's complaint. But the English thing, that's if he gets a degree and that's the most important. The most important thing. But here you see that people don't care about English in schools where they have English. It's not respected. It's not. And Dafka the Kaddish teachers, I heard someone was moaning. Why is that you only respect the Kaddish teachers? They don't respect the English program. They don't respect the English teachers. I was like.
Yeah, it's interesting that you were saying that suddenly it used to be Lubavitch's Farkach to Mashiach, and now that there's this tone down. There's also been a toning down in demanding Mashiach. Something that irks me all the time. Where you read about Yetzias Mitzrayim, there's Vayizoku Vatal Shavasam El Hashem. The Yidden were actively demanding. And today, in 2024, I'm sorry, people are just way too comfortable with life, way too much on their phones. There needs to be this vayzaku, and not just chas v'shalom every time something negative happens in the world. There needs to be a vayzaku. We have to demand it from Hashem.
Not to be complacent.
Yeah.
And that obviously, so we saw with the Rebbe Chavchas Nissen more famously at least than any other time. The Rebbe's raw pain and frustration at every single second in Golas. Is rech badir that it could be, tomorrow in Golas and Ibn Morgan. Every second of Golas, the Rebbe's like, I'm not okay with it, and you shouldn't be either. Yeah. It's unnatural for a Yid to be in Golos. That's what we need to remember. I just the past 2 days, the Sicha Yemis, which I highly recommend everyone listen to. You have every day 10 minutes, which is an actual amount of time you can have, and sometimes like they have the past 2 days a hemshich, so you can get a longer sichas, and to really, if you want to know how the Rebbe thinks, I would highly, or general, start listen to the Rebbe. It's very geschmack. So the past 2 days, it's from Yobes Tammuz Chav Zayin. I think Yobes Tammuz.
It's a hemshich from yesterday.
Yeah, from yesterday. And the Rebbe is discussing what we can learn from the lesson, what happened after the 6-day war. And the Rebbe says, people come with tinus. What's with this Amma Peziza? What's with this rash people? The Nasa Kaidon Lenishma. that you say will do before. What do you mean? You have to understand. You have to. And also, what are you telling me? Put on tefillin. The Rebbe says, mind your own mind your own business. Says the Rebbe in English. Don't tell everyone what to do. And the Rebbe learns an amazing lesson from the army, from the draft, that as soon as people realize, and this is the key, says the Rebbe, that you're needed. As soon as people realize I matter, I make a difference. I'm not just another cog in a machine. My contributions are necessary. They got a draft letter. All they wanted to know was the time and place, and they were there. They didn't ask any questions. And even if they had a million questions that they had in the commander, they know the only way for this to work is to follow the commander. Even if they know, they'll fight about it after the war. They'll figure out if he was right or wrong. The only way you fight a war is you listen to the commander. You're smarter than him, and he's a... Doesn't matter. This is the system. And everyone says the Rebbe, you yourself understand this. You got the letter. You know what I'm talking about, says the Rebbe. And no one says, oh, my personal life. No, yeah, everyone knows your listening is important for the call, for everyone. All these questions fade away. And here, I was thinking it's an amazing, so to speak, the Ufaf and the Egen. The Rebbe showing us, how do you open your eyes? The Rebbe takes an example about something, about, within the paradigm of Yiddishkeit, you have so many questions. How is it? In Geula, das, Jens. And the Rebbe says, what Gaulas, what are there? It's what Yetzirah? What are you talking about? It's clear, it's understood, there's no problems. You open your, and the Rebbe, so to speak, to try to a clear example of opening your eyes to see the reality of, in this world, everyone could not have a Yetzirah, and everyone could listen to the Eibishter and have Nasa Kedin Lenishma. That reality already exists in the world. We're just making up problems in our head. As soon as you realize, oh, it's true. All you need is to realize that you matter. Realize that your contribution, like the Rebbe's constant refrain, one of the things that Rebbe quoted so many times, the famous Rambam, that one mitzvah can tip the scale, that every one individual's mitzvah is so important and integral, and that was really the cry of Chavches Nisan, that you should take this personally. This should matter to you on a personal level, that I need to bring the Geula, or the way that Rebbe put it in Chayesara, Tafshun Beis, that not that you're going to wait for it to happen and you'll enjoy it when it comes, but you do call a talibach, everything that's dependent on you, to actively pursue it and make it happen. And that ties in with the whole, what you were saying at the beginning, the machshava d'b'ramaisa. If indeed this is something that you're going to take seriously because it matters and it's up to us, we have to be Mekhalel Pnei Mashiach Tzedekenu. When we do that, like you mentioned, by obviously one of the main things that is, if that's for real, we're going to start keeping Torah mitzvahs properly and learning about Nyan Mashiach Geula. If you realize that you could do that, as soon as you realize it matters, it becomes so much easier. I saw today a minor from the Rebbe, when someone tells him he's having difficulty overcoming his challenges, he needs strength to overcome the Yitzhahara. And the Rebbe says, you don't need strength. You need to stop falling prey to your amazing weakness, which might sound a bit harsh, but it's really, again, that was opening your eyes. Like, you're imagining this whole mountain, the Yetzirah, the Rebbe said, no, it's all fake news. There's no big Yetzirah there. As soon as you realize you have the power, you have the ability to climb out of whatever, everyone's stuck in this gullish perspective, you can snap your fingers and you can do it. We're a lot more powerful than we think. I heard from the Rosh, Rabbi Shachat in LA. This also I mentioned that his understanding of some of the sikhs of the Rebbe are what does it mean we finished Avodah, etc. That whereas till now there might have actually been some challenges, some achiza of Klippa, that hold of Klippa is totally gone. And as soon as we realize that we have the power, we have the ability, as soon as we flip that switch, it will go a lot easier and we'll be able to accomplish amazing things.
So it's all in the mind. Just to keep on telling yourself.
It's kommt dann schwer to penetrate this nakuda of that the Geula is here. And we just have to realize, and then it'll happen. And Debit says the answer to that is learning in Mashiach Geula. That has the amazing power, the Kayach HaTorah, to flip the switch, and both on a spiritual level and also practically learning about it.
I was just gonna say that. I know when we had the interview with Rabbi Hamnek, that was a big thing that he said was that you have to understand when the Rebbe is saying Pashat very simply that we finished this time of Aveda of Ma'asenu Avediseinu calls Ma'amash Chagalos, that when the Rebbe is saying that when Mashiach, when the Rebbe is saying that we have the Geula in our hands and all that stuff, the Rebbe is telling us that all the Menus Ve'ikuvim that you have in Golos, meaning the physical constraints, Pashat, Begashmias, you have a body and all these things, you have Yetzer Hara and you have Taivis and all these things, the Rebbe is saying that all those things are gone. I think I mentioned this already in a previous episode about the fleas. There's a test that they did with the fleas. They put them in a jar, and they closed the jar. And after 3 days, they came back. They opened the jar. They not only that, but they removed the jar, and the fleas were just in the same exact same area space of the jar.
Yeah, they never jumped higher than the cover.
Because for 3 days they tried, and it just that's it. There's a cover, and those are my limitations. I can't go out of it, even though the jar is removed. They're still stuck in their limitations, and I think we're holding in a place where the jar is removed. There's no limitations. All the limitations that are there are not set by ourselves, but we perceive them. We think that they're there, so therefore we don't go past this. We're not going to push ourselves past this because we know that these are limitations. We have physical limitations. There are things that we just can't do because we're physical human beings. There are things that I can't do because I know that I have these shortcomings. There's things that I can't do because I know that I have a desire to do something else. So it's just going to be really hard, and I just can't do it. But I think, and this is a thing that really resonated with me when Rabbi Hamnik said this, was that all those things are gone. You have to open your eyes. What does it mean, open your eyes? Open your eyes. Recognize that the limitations are off. You're living in the Geula. The Geula is here. All you have to do is just tiftach ha'anayim, open your eyes and recognize that there's nothing else. Everything else is just.
So I'm going to throw a big question over here. I'll see where it goes. So based on all this, how come today in 2024 the people are having all sorts of issues, that this therapist and this HD, a D and a D and a C and a B, E, F, G? What is going on? If you're saying there's no limitations, and so it's dafka today that you get a monthly gedarshik, you have to run to a therapist. I was having a conversation with my wife, because I told her about this podcast about mirroring. She laughed at me. She says 10, 20 years ago, I didn't have to understand how the brain works. You told a child, go to sleep, and he goes to sleep. You don't know. In 2024, you have to understand there's a this part of the brain and then the middle part of the brain, and you have to speak to the child and first get him in this part of the brain. And once you get him engaged, then you can have a conversation. What is going on? So it seems as if it's just the opposite.
I don't know if that's directly related to the topic of this podcast, but for what it's worth, in my not professional experience, the more you stel sich of a problem, this is relating also to the mind of the Rebbe I mentioned, the Rebbe did not in any way validate this man's taina. The Rebbe entirely ignored his complaint and showed him how he doesn't have any problems. And his problems are imagined.
In the first place.
Today it's very prevalent, this idea of validating people's feelings and emotions, and on the whole I think it's a terrible thing to do. And the more you discuss your problems, the more problems you're going to have. It's the most unhealthy thing you can do. The healthiest thing you can do is like the Rebbe's constant thing. Hes chadas. Don't think about it. Move on with your life. You'll be so much happier for it. And that's, I think, the reason there's so much therapy is because everyone's going to therapy. You'll have better off probably.
Because they're making a big issue.
There are sometimes, I can't talk for all circumstances and all situations, but on the whole, the Rebbe spoke, for instance, about meditation. And the Rebbe said meditation is not a good thing for people. It's not a healthy thing for a healthy person to do. People should be active, not sitting contemplating, except for what Titus says, I think Chassidus, etc. Then the Rebbe's point was, that's generally speaking, but there are some people who are already sick and the medicine, and they're vergapt in this idea of meditation. And for them, the solution, like any other medicine that's not good for a healthy person, but for a sick person, medicine is beneficial. And these people need to have meditation. And the Rebbe is saying people are scared of it because of Avodah Zarah, but there are Yidden who need help. You need to make proper meditation things, al pitera, that are not Avodah Zarah, to help these people who need help. And I would say it's a similar thing with therapy. There is a room for a therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, things that are more, there are different types of therapy, and not my field of expertise. But for people who it's not necessary, who are sick, that's one thing. But it's a very big idea today to impose therapy on everyone. That the whole everyone should be thinking the whole day about their feelings and all their negative thoughts and experiences, and everyone should understand their brain and this and that. And oftentimes it's a lot healthier to not think about any of those things and just live your life.
Yes, I mean, what you just said about that, mamish, there's no limitations to it. It's like, wow.
So I think in connection to that, the fact that there's no limitations, I think, and this is something that Simcha just said, what we're doing is we're like part of the limitations being yourself is that you're elevating it. You are making your own limitations. You are adding to the limitations. You are growing your limitation by focusing on your problems and focusing. Correct. As you get prosperous, as countries grow prosperous, the issues that regular human beings used to have of not having a shower and having to work really, really hard for food and the cold and all these physical problems that were out of yourself, you never had time to think of problems that you have inside yourself. But as we removed more of those physical problems, we have more time to think about our own problems, to think about what's going on in here. And I think that's part of this dichotomy, this fact of the removal of your limitations, is that now, being that it's all in your head, we are so stuck in we have to have limitations that we build up limitations ad gates, that we have limitations now that never existed in the history of the world. Human beings never had these limitations before. But now, because we're so sachapt, we have to have limitations, so we make up limitations. It could be that without the ADD, without the diagnoses, we would have no problems. It could be that without but because we're so, and I think this is what the Rebbe was trying to break. The Rebbe was trying to break this by Chav Chasnis, and by trying to get us to really, really care about the fact that we have to get out of the Geula. So we have to remove ourselves from it. And I think this is part of Kabbalas and Moshiach Tzidkenu, being Makabel, Mashiach as your king, is that he has to he's going to remove you, and that's what the Rebbe was doing. His sichos were trying to get us out. The learning in Yonah Geula Mashiach, right? Like we said, that Torah is the best way. Torah is the derech yeshara to switch, to have the paradigm shift. When you recognize as everything that all the limitations that you have right now are your own limitations, the limitations that you're putting on yourself, that'll make it easier to remove them, so to speak. Knowing that the sickness is half of Yedias HaMaka is Chatzir Refuah. Machla, thank you.
And parenthetically, probably everyone being on their phones and having an attention is contributing to everyone being anxious and having 2-second attention spans, and certainly social media. But that's parenthetic.
and listening to things sometimes too, and all that stuff.
That it might sound silly, but I turn off the notifications on my phone. That's it, simply. So I don't hear dings and anything. I look up, I don't know, whatever. Every few minutes, I take a look. Okay, this is here. I don't have to answer right away, and I move on.
I go to release time every Wednesday. So today is recording this on a Wednesday. So today I was a release time in Queens. I'm in so I bring the kids to the public school kids to a shul, and one of the kids tells me, and then afterwards I tell the whole class, tell everyone else, that before Shabbos, before they light candles, The father takes all the iPads and all the devices, all the stuff. They put it in the closet. He locks the closet. He puts away the key.
Wow.
Shabbos, public school kids. It's Shabbos now.
Wow.
And yeah,
The
that was really beautiful. Looking to see Geula in the world. There you have it.
Wow.
So let's summarize what we have till now. We have that we should get rid of the labels. We should be ba'achdus, and everyone should care about Mashiach, and then the world shouldn't be just all Chassidim and not just Chabad, but all Yidden, and we have to open our eyes and realize that we do not have any of these inhibitions that are stopping us. We have the power and ability to actually go greet Mashiach, and one of the biggest, most important ways to do that is in our own lives of machshava, actually doing what we can, and through learning about the Nyan Mashiach Geula, which is important in and of itself, and will help us implement all of this.
Yeah, and then another nikud about listening to a fellow chassid.
To listen, right?
I would
that's
say
how you yeah.
I have this dream to take, and I think I saw somewhere where it did happen, where they actually put by a table, the expression the kum and some tish. They took I think it was Gedalia Shemtiv and Mendel Handel and a few other guys.
Wow.
Pasha sat down and they talked. I don't know how many times that happened, but it has to happen more.
100%.
I have a dream to bring all the big heads of Lubavitch and Pasha, sit them down, just listen out, non-threatening. Put your head Geshem aside. Let's just have a conversation.
Yeah. This
if they want to come on this podcast, we'll be open to opening up the platform
for everyone who wants to talk about the Mashiach.
Correct. Whoever wants to come on, if anybody that is listening now and wants to suggest someone, we'll put the email on the screen over here. And I think it's important not only to listen to conversations, but to have conversations as well, to formulate your own opinions by learning the sichos, learning the Inyan Mashiach in general, like the Rebbe says in Terech Shebechsav and Terech Sheba'al Peh, and Pashat, it should permeate our machshava, our dibur ha'maisa, and I think like we said, that we have to have Shavas Achim Gam Yachad. We have to listen to each other and respect each other.
Yeah, because ultimately we all want the same thing. Everybody wants to see the Rebbe. Everybody finally wants to see Mashiach come. Everybody wants to give the Rebbe nachas ruach. Everybody wants to do time. So there's really no.
Yeah, you think it's an easy thing to sell Mashiach. It's very good. Mashiach's very good. It's very.
That's what I
want it. You'll need it.
There won't be any problems.
Nothing. You know what it means? You have zero problems in your life. I don't understand this hesitation to Mashiach. There's another point. It's Pashat Maisa Satan. That's all. That's because imagine you live in a life you don't have any problems, garnished. You don't have to worry about the bank. You don't have to worry about your kids' charlimud. You don't have to worry about your kids fighting. You don't have to worry about health. Like all these ads and billboards that you see, either from a lawyer, I'll bail you out from all these things, or you see a billboard for a dentist. Mashiach is this all-inclusive thing, and yet we're sitting back, we're trying to figure out, Gimel Tammuz happened, and okay, we toned down from Mashiach. It's mamish.
That was what Miriam Feldman was talking about. That before she was from, she was trying to save the whales or something like that. She was into things like that, and then she hears, wait, there's this thing Mashiach that fixes the whole world,
You got the world, not just whales.
I'm all in. That's great.
It's important, and I think everybody wants Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now, and Chaim Livracha.
ועד כדי כך המדבר גולהוב מה der Am soll nachher sein, Yeshia Melech,
ay, 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 ay.